Start
Damn
looking.
you and Joe's logic.
Yeah.
See, it'd be easy if we could just find Kenneth.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can find links to some of our research, probably at least one of those copy-pasted websites, just for fun.
Only one of them.
Only one, not all 12 that we researched. You can find that, and you can listen to the show on our website, thinkingsidewayspodcast.com. You're probably not listening to us there. You're probably listening to us on iTunes. If you are, subscribe, leave a comment and a rating. That's how people find us.
Yeah, and a good rating is usually preferred over a really bad rating.
We don't really care.
I prefer reading the nice ones, though.
Yeah. I do
Actually,
like reading the nice ones.
actually the bad ones are kind of amusing sometimes, but don't leave a bad one just on that account.
Yeah.
Nice one's better.
Yeah, it's way better. You also could be streaming us from just almost any streaming site of all times ever, or streaming app. You can find us on Twitter. We are Thinking Sideways. You can find us on Facebook, Thinking Sideways Podcast. There's a page and a group. You can email us at thinkingsidewayspodcast@gmail.com. You can also, I always forget, you can get merchandise. If you won't, you can wear a shirt of ours.
Won't?
If you won't.
Yeah.
Won't?
If you won't.
It's a southern thing.
Okay.
It's a young person thing. Calm down.
All right.
That's how we say it. God.
I won't what I won't.
Yeah. You can wear a shirt of ours. You can have a phone case of ours. You can have a creepy, weird nightlight.
I just fixed our logo T-shirt. One of our listeners brought it up that there was a bit of an issue with it, and so we went ahead and fixed that, so it prints and is much better.
It's pretty now. Yeah.
Yes. Yes, it looks like it's supposed to.
It's all on Zazzle. You can find the link to that just above the donate button on our website. It's on the right hand.
There's a little
corner.
picture of swag there now.
Yeah, cool. Anything else to add?
Oh, let me think. No, we are working on other products for you. Hopefully, one of these days we'll have like a beer cozy and then maybe a bottle opener
An AK-47
an
case.
AK-47
And a car cover.
Yeah.
And
We're making custom Toynbee tiles.
yes, custom Toynbee tiles.
Yeah, you can have a Toynbee tile in your
Yeah.
own driveway.
I have to email Zazzle tomorrow.
Yeah,
Because,
you
oh
should.
my God, if we can get them to make those,
That'd
that
be
would
great.
be awesome.
I like
Yeah, right.
I like the idea of a Toynbee tile kit. I think that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I think it's called Home Depot.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyways, that all having been said, since we have nothing else to contribute to this unsolvable case, we're going to get out of here.
All right.
Yeah,
Sounds
okay.
good.
All right. Talk.
Later, everybody.
What is that frequency, though?
120 millihertz.
Thinking Sideways is not supported by an inscrutable figure who smells slightly of garlic. Instead, it's supported by the generous donations of our listeners on Patreon. Visit patreon.com/thinkingsideways to learn more. And thanks.
Thinking Sideways.
I don't understand.
Does not compute.
You never know.
Insufficient data to formulate a reply. What?
Stories of things we simply don't know the answer to.
Hey there. Welcome again to another episode of Thinking Sideways. I'm Joe, joined by my incredibly good-looking co-hosts, Steve and Devin. Guys, say hi.
Hi.
So, anyway, you guys want
weird.
Yeah. Do you want to do that again?
No, I like it.
Okay.
Because I'm incredibly attractive now.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So anyway, folks, we're going to talk about a mystery that surrounds Anne Frank, who you probably have heard of. For the few of you who haven't heard, Anne Frank was a teenage Jewish girl who spent more than 2 years hiding in some rooms behind a business in Amsterdam, along with her family and 4 other people. Does that ring any bells? Yeah. And then one building and took them away. And of course, as you all know, they met a grim fate. Yeah, Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen and all that stuff. But it appears then that somebody ratted them out. So our mystery is who finked on the Franks? Yeah.
Nice wordplay.
Gonna
Yeah.
Nice alliteration there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, this has actually been heavily investigated. There was an investigation in 1948, 1963, 1986, 2003.
Yeah, there's been continual investigation.
Oh yeah, books have been written, suspects put forward. First of all, before we start talking about our mystery, I want to take a minute to thank our listener Maggie, who suggested this story way back when, like December last year. Yeah, so sorry for the long wait, Maggie, but
Here we are.
Yeah, well, we're here. We finally arrived. I'd also like to thank our listener Shanna. I hope I pronounced that correctly, Shanna. Shanna speaks Dutch, and she helped me out with the pronunciation of some of the names involved.
Ironic that you don't know how to say her name.
I know. Well, actually,
But yes.
it's spelled Shanna, but she actually spelled it out phonetically for me.
Oh, so Shanna.
So Shanna,
Okay.
unless it's Shauna, but it might be Shauna. So Shanna, let me know if I succeeded. I'm almost certainly going to mangle these names anyway, but at least I won't mangle them quite as bad as I would have.
Yeah, you got the frame of reference now.
Yeah.
Which is fantastic.
Yeah. Okay, back to Anne Frank. I'll just give you a brief overview of her story.
And this was actually helpful for me. I know most school-age children, at least in America, presumably most other places, read Diary of a Young Girl by Anne Frank. I did not.
I never did either.
I was never assigned it.
I wasn't either.
So I had not actually ever really read, in depth. You kind of just vaguely understand that Anne Frank is a person who existed and
She had a
bad
diary.
things happened, and she wrote some stuff about those bad things, and also some stuff that people think is really offensive and pornographic. But I don't know. That's all I ever knew. So this was really helpful.
No, this was same thing. I had a complete and total incorrect perception of the space that these people lived in my head.
Me too.
And so reading it and then getting to see some of this stuff, it makes the story makes more sense now.
I also didn't realize it was 2 years.
Yeah,
I don't know why. I just kind of assumed it was
months.
A couple months.
Yeah. No, they were there for
Really
2 years and a month.
Yeah.
Actually, the Austrian police officer who finally raided the place and arrested them and took them away.
Couldn't believe it.
That's what. Yeah, he said. Yeah, Otto Frank said the policeman just couldn't believe that they'd been there that long.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway.
So let's talk about the story.
Yeah, let's talk about the story. Anne Frank was born in 1929 in Frankfurt, Germany. So yes, she was German, not Dutch. But she was born to Otto and Edith Frank. She also had an older sister named Margot, about 3 years older than her. And in 1933, a couple of things happened that kind of prompted the family to move to Amsterdam. One is that Otto got an offer to help start a company there. And two, the National Socialist German Workers' Party came to power. There was a long, I was reading about this just today, the whole convoluted process of Hitler getting appointed chancellor and then consolidating power, all the manipulation and scheming that went on, and it's way too complicated to go over, but he did a masterful job of pretty much taking over the entire German government. But
it took a little.
It took a lot of scheming, and it took time.
Several years.
Yeah, it took a while, but finally he was in charge of everything, and that turned out well.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not so much.
Yeah, so Otto Frank and his wife saw the writing on the wall and decided it might be time to beat feet to Amsterdam. Smart choice, yeah. So Otto worked in Amsterdam at Apecta Works in a building at 263 Prinsengracht, Amsterdam. And in 1938, he founded a second company called Pecticon, which was housed in the same building.
So he was a bit of an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, both companies were his, and it was something to do with, is it gelatin?
Yeah, pectin.
Pectin is a derived from fruit, and it's kind of Jell-O in a sense.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting. I never really
Pectin
thought.
is what you use to make jams and jelly.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you. Which I understand was highly important, but I never really thought about the fact that it was derived that way. So it's really interesting.
Yeah.
And you had to know what he was, kind of be a very intelligent guy to be able to manage that.
Yeah, and that seems like it'd be a high commodity at that time as well.
Yeah,
Lots of canning and preserving happening at that point.
Yeah, refrigeration was not so good.
Well, also, you kind of, if you're going to be living in the back of a house for 2 years,
Yeah, 2 years and a month. So things were going pretty well for the Franks, but in 1940, unfortunately, the Germans invaded the Netherlands and immediately, of course, began persecuting Dutch Jews. Anne and Margot were forced to change schools because there were new rules mandating segregation, so that meant they could only go to a Jewish school, as long as a Jewish school existed.
It seems
Not gonna
like
be
it
that
was a
much
much
longer.
slower process than I also thought. I just kind of assumed the Nazis come to Amsterdam and then all of the Jews get carted away.
Yeah.
Oh, the
It
tanks
was a
roll in
much
one day and all the
slower-
Jews are gone the next.
Yeah, it was
no,
a much slower process
was
of
yeah.
slowly segregating and then slowly carting away.
Yeah, the carting away didn't start right away. And it was like, I don't think they'd really ramped up the whole Holocaust to industrial proportions quite yet. Yeah, that took a little time.
So the girls had to go to a new school.
They had to change schools. Jewish-owned businesses were being confiscated, so in 1941, Otto Frank liquidated his companies and transferred all of his assets to Jan Gies. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Sean, let me know. Gies was the husband of Miep Gies, who was Otto Frank's secretary, and also they were all friends, too. In July 1942, Margot was ordered to report for relocation to a work camp. Remember, Margot was older than
The older daughter.
Yeah. So the Franks had been planning already to go into hiding, but they decided to move up the date a little bit because of this. And on July 6, 1942, they left their apartment with many, many layers of clothes on, which must have been great on a July day.
Yeah.
You hope they left first thing in the morning.
Yeah, or in the evening or something. But they wore tons of layers of clothes because they didn't want to be seen carrying luggage.
Smart.
Yeah.
I heard that Anne gave the cat to their neighbor.
Yeah. No, I found
And
that.
her marbles.
Yeah, I know.
Right?
And a
She was
few other
very,
occupants.
very concerned about her marbles. She didn't want them to fall into the wrong hands.
Yeah, and so that made me feel better when I heard that the cat was okay.
Yeah, and the marbles.
Yeah, and the marbles too.
Yeah.
They walked to Otto's business, where his two companies are, and it was several kilometers, but they had to walk because Jews weren't allowed to take public transportation.
Cool.
I know.
Such a weird rule, but okay.
Yeah, I know.
Well, it's very similar to the segregation that happened in America.
And it's still a weird rule to me
Yeah.
on that front.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's weird. Whatever.
I don't know why, but okay, fine.
Yeah, I know. Back to the business. The building is one of those really tall, skinny Amsterdam buildings. I'm sure everybody's seen pictures of. It's like 4 stories tall.
Kind of like a row house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It was actually a building that fronted on the street in the canal, and then behind it there was a second building called the Annex, and they were connected together. The ground level was basically unfinished warehouse space for the business.
On both.
Yeah,
both of the buildings.
extending underneath the back building too. Yeah, and so the ground level was basically unfinished. The upper levels of the street side building were used as offices, and then there was a connecting doorway to the rear building on the second level. And this part of this space is known as the annex. So from the second floor up to the attic. That was the annex. It had previously been used as a laboratory for product development, but during the war there was not much product development going on, so Otto Frank found another use for it. They moved into that space, and then they put a bookcase across the doorway to conceal it, and that's how they kept hidden for 25 months.
Literally the spy movie door.
Yeah.
And there was like a bathroom and stuff in there, right?
Yeah, there was.
Okay.
Thank God. Although they couldn't flush the toilet during the day because there were people working down below in the warehouse.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
Yeah, at least, yeah.
it's like a porta potty kind of.
Yeah.
You just learn to time your stuff, I guess.
Yeah.
Probably.
But, yeah.
So
They had to be really quiet, though, for those 2 years and 1 month.
yeah, and there are pictures of this online, right?
Yeah, there's on the Wikipedia page, there's a picture of, it's from the Anne Frank Museum, and somebody built a model of the building
Okay,
and
yeah.
everything, and there's a picture of it, it's kind of a cutaway model, and then all these spaces are labeled and stuff, so you can get a really great idea of the space that they were living in.
Yeah, which I think that it was helpful to me.
Yeah.
To be able to see it.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know?
Yeah, actually, I was surprised because because I hadn't really read the diary or anything like that. I was always under the impression that they were living in a much tinier space than what they lived in.
It was basically a house, like a 2-story house they had.
Yeah, not a huge amount of space, but for the 4 of them,
But it wasn't Underground Railroad kind of under the floorboards.
Yeah.
No, not like that. Not
Yeah.
like Inglorious Bastards.
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the Jews
Yeah.
were hiding under the floorboards. Yeah.
Although
no,
I'm sure there were some that were.
there probably were. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that would have been not a bad space for the Frank family. But about a week later, Herman Van Pels, who was one of his employees, showed up with his family. So that's him and his wife and his son. And then several months later, another friend showed up, Fritz Pepper. And so all in all, 8 people living in that space for over 2 years.
It's a lot.
Yeah, they weren't able to go outside and get fresh air and a little sunshine, and only one bathroom between 8 people.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking things got a little tense in there. Yeah, but it does beat getting killed.
Yeah, or worse.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not like the Nazis were, the worst thing wasn't being killed by them.
Yeah, that's true. They did some hideous things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The thing that gets me about this, I guess, is like there had to have been blueprints, or seems like prime hiding spot, right? That you would be able to walk and say, oh, there's an extra house back there. But I guess I don't know how active searches were or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was if you're working in the building, it would be kind of obvious because the offices only extend back so far, and yet the warehouse below extends back a lot further.
Yeah.
But, the guys that worked in the warehouse maybe didn't get up to the offices all that much.
Probably, or not to the back office, or the sense of
Also,
space is different.
Keep in mind that it wasn't as if it's just a big empty space. It's a warehouse space on the bottom. It's got stuff stacked up. It's an office space. It's got walls. It's got people and desks. So there's things that can sort of distort your sense of proportion.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever been in an office where you feel like this place just goes on and on and on, and then suddenly it feels like you're in an area that's really small. And
Every Monday through Friday.
and it's just simply because of the way that it's arranged and what's in it.
Yeah.
And to a degree, I think that's what worked in the Frank's benefit.
It seems also likely that on the off chance that a worker does come up and say, oh, it seems like there should be more back there, you can say, oh, there was lab space back there, but we closed it off.
Close
we
it
didn't
up.
want to
Didn't want to be wasting money on heat and
Yeah.
light, stuff like that.
Yeah, there's ways around it.
defunct. Yeah.
Or just say, shut up and take your paycheck and go home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just be happy you have a job.
Yeah, if they say something like they say, well, what? We don't know anything about any Jews. We don't know
No
anything.
one's there.
Yeah.
We don't have 8 people hidden in there.
Yeah. Anyway, so our 8 people are called the hiders, and there were 6 people called the helpers who knew about them, and 4 of them worked there, and then there were 2 others. So our helpers were Victor Kugler, Nick Gies, and I'm already mangling these, Beth Bushkow, Johannes Kleiman, Jan Gies, Johannes Bushkow, who was Beth's father, and Jan Gies was Nies Gies' husband.
Okay.
They were the helpers, and they did stuff like, first off, to get their mouths shut about the whole thing. Always important to do. And they would do other stuff too, like Jan would go out and find a way to get illegal way to get rationing cards, because they had to get food for these people, right? So he procured rationing cards, and they all went out and got supplies for them. But most especially Neep did. She did a lot of shopping for those 2 years, and she was going out because she had to be low profile about it. She had to go out
A couple times probably, right?
several times a day,
Yeah.
maybe, and her rule was to go to several different stores, and at one buy a single bag of groceries, nothing more, unless you could hide something in the store. So these people worked hard.
Yeah.
Was
over all
she
those 2
the
years.
one who lived to be 100?
Yeah, she died in 2010.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah, I don't remember what website it was. I was reading some story, I think it was on The Guardian or something like that, and I was reading it, and they had a picture of her at 100 years old, and then they had a picture of her from, I think, 1940 or 1942, and Otto Frank was in the picture. But it was so weird, is you see somebody, and you're trying to figure out what they looked like when they were younger, except the photo was captioned incorrectly, and it said, so-and-so, bottom center left, and so-and-so, bottom center left. Like 2 people had this. So I kept looking, I was so confused until I finally figured out which one it was, because obviously she looked like her, but it was really interesting that she managed to, she was the last one of all of these people.
Yeah.
That the last survivor of the entire group.
She must have been eating a lot of pine cones.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, the pine cones.
Yeah, I think it's
That's what my grandma tells me.
Skittles. Some of the other things that they did, they would keep them up to date on what's going on outside. I assume they brought in newspapers and books for them to read. Beth ordered correspondence courses in subjects like Latin and shorthand to keep them occupied.
And the girls were taking those.
Yeah, and so
And doing really well.
Yeah, Margot.
Yeah, Margot.
Right, Margot. She
Yeah.
didn't she get perfect scores on her shorthand test or something?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
They were doing really well.
Well, yeah, it's a good idea if you're sitting there. You might as well be.
Intelligent group of people, I think.
Oh yeah, smart people, and you know, the girls obviously weren't able to go to school, so you want to do something for it to help them, so they're not too far behind when the war's over. But as I said, to keep the factory workers, the guys down in the